As a coach, depending on the age group that you're coaching, you need to adapt your style and your focus areas. The technical, the tactical, the social, and the coaching focus areas need to be adapted based on the age groups that you're coaching. So for a U6 age group, you'll have different focus areas compared to, let's say, a U11 or even a U17. In this video, I'm going to share with you an age-based soccer coaching framework that you can use to define the focus areas to work with each age group that you're coaching. So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to look at three age-based categories: U5 to U9, U10 to U13, and then finally U14 to U18. And we'll also look at four horizontal categories, namely technique, tactical, social, and coaching focus. So let's start with the U5 to U9s. These are merely kids. So in the technical category, you're going to want to just look at building the relationship of the player with the ball. And this can be done with touches, passing. Basically, you want to encourage more on-the-ball drills and on-the-ball warm-ups. The player and the ball need to build their relationship through these age groups. By the time the player is 9 or 10 years old, he should be comfortable on the ball. He should want the ball as much as possible, etc. So these are the formative years in making sure the technique is developed. On the tactical side, you don't want to go too deep at this age group. So you're just going to want to focus on the zonal piece. This means that if a player is a central defender, you want to teach him to play in the central part of defense. Doesn't matter if he's further to the left or further to the right. The focus is the zone. He needs to be available in position during the team's attacking, transitional, and defending phase. You want to avoid circumstances where all the players run after the ball at all times. Hence, this zonal concept is very important in this age group. On the social side, this is very, very important in this age group. You want the kids to have fun. Every warm-up, every drill, every piece of activity that they do on the field and when they're in your practices should be done with one goal in mind: fun. They should have a smile on their face at all times, and that's how they're going to want to learn more and be comfortable with the ball and participate in drills. The fun aspect is very, very important in this age group. It could be a make or break for the player with the sport. And finally, the coaching focus area. Like I said, the technical part is important, so the coaching focus area is the player on the ball. Encourage your players to be on the ball more. Make sure that they're developing various technical skills in this age group so that their comfort level increases on the ball as much as possible. Now moving on to the U10s to U13s. On the technical side, you want to focus on basic ball mastery here. You can start with a few advanced drills. You can look at how the player dribbles the ball, and you can also introduce some basic heading of the ball in these age groups. On the dribbling side, it's important for the coaches to make their players understand when to dribble and when to pass. This distinction between when to take on your man in a 1v1 format versus when to stay back and pass the ball needs to be made around these age groups, in order for you to move on to more advanced drills in the U14 plus age categories. On the tactical side, your tactical development with the players needs to be team-based, which means that the player's position isn't zonal anymore. It's dependent on the other players in the team. For the attacking phase, the transitional phase, and the defensive phase, the player's positioning always has to be based on the teammates. And this means if one of the players is out of position, the other player needs to take his place or make sure that he's backing him up. The pressure cover balance concept needs to be introduced in these phases so that the players understand the linkages between each other. On the social side, team bonding becomes very, very important here. You want the players to be comfortable working with each other. You want the players to develop that trust that if one of the players is out of position, the other will back them up and will fill the gap. So the team bonding aspect is extremely important here. I would recommend introducing a few drills that encourage team bonding. You can do these before and after practice even, in the form of soccer, tennis, and some other fun drills where the players are dependent on each other and trust each other a bit more. In these age groups, your coaching focus is mainly on the players that are closest to the ball. So if you have player 1 on the ball and player 2 and 3 are the closest, you're coaching those 3 players mainly. Contrary to the younger age groups where you'll just coach the player on the ball, here you want to focus on 2 to 3 players in the surrounding area of the ball. This includes during attack, during transition, and during defense. Now moving to the U14 to U18 categories. On the technical side, you can now go into advanced ball mastery, and this includes 1v1, 1v2s, flare moves, etc. The advanced dribbling moves come into play quite a bit here. So you can encourage your players to have more freedom on the ball and do whatever they want on the ball in specific zones. Now remember, you're dealing with teenagers here, so most of them love flare moves. So you want to encourage them, but you also want to make sure each of the players understand when they can perform these flare moves and the triggers and the coaching points associated with them. On the tactical side, this gets a bit complicated in these age groups because things are not only team-based, but they're also phase-based, and they're also improvisational in many cases, which means that your team-based structure that you had in the U10 to U13 category now has to become conditional to which phase of play they are in and which part of the field they're in as well. So let's say, for example, your team is in the attacking third, they have a bit more freedom to move around. Whereas if they're in the defensive third, they need to be a bit more rigid. This is where that discipline needs to be introduced. And you need to make sure that the players are following that discipline in order to stay a bit more compact in their formational structure. Your social skills here can become more goal-oriented, which means you can start giving out specific objectives per session or per match. The objective could be a joint objective between all of the players, like a clean sheet or making sure that the opponent does not take a shot on goal. This will promote a bit more of team bonding and will make sure that the players understand team-based objectives and how they can collaborate to achieve those objectives. Your coaching focus here is obviously the full team. It's not just the player on the ball, it's not just the player surrounding the ball, but it's the entire team. So even if the ball is on the left side of the field, the players that are on the right side of the field need to adapt to a certain formation or make sure that they're making off the ball runs. And you as a coach need to make sure that that's happening. So you're basically coaching the entire team here. And this is where we get into some of the more advanced coaching licenses like the National A or the UEFA Pro license, where you're coaching the entire team. So I hope this age-based soccer coaching framework is helpful. I'll be referring to it in many future videos where we're gonna pick certain themes and certain topics based on this coaching framework. Thanks for watching.